Now, this is probably the final term that we need to understand, and actually, we have been using it, directives. What we have called directives in our example is attribute. We saw that ng app in our code. We saw that in our example, right? We have the div ng app. Now, this terminology that we have used as attribute of an HTML element, we call such elements like inputs attributes are type, minimum, right? Similarly, if an attribute comes from Angular, we call it a directive, right? So directive is a special behavior. It applies a special behavior to attributes in the HTML elements. And we have seen ng app and ng model. Okay, let me show you ng model here. You have seen ng model. Ng app, now let me explain what ng app does. Ng app says that within its scope, that is from line number 7 to 17, that's the scope, right? Or rather 18. From 7 to 18, we have an Angular application. So anything inside this is an Angular application. Now this is that particular area which needs to be compiled, right? We use the term compiler. Within this, when it is loaded, that means when the file comes in from the server, it is read by the browser and the browser is loading it. After loading it, it has to render. That means it has to parse it, and when it parses, it comes across these new terms that it doesn't know about, but then it has been defined in angular.js file which we have included. So it will go ahead and compile. That means it will change these terminologies into the regular JavaScript. That's compilation. Now ng app is a directive, ng init is a directive, ng model is a directive, and these directives have different purposes. For example, the ng app will make this particular set of lines into an Angular application. We can give it a name. Okay, we can give it a name like my app. We can give it a name like that if you want to refer to it later. Or even if you don't give it a name, we know that the browser will now understand that this is the scope. The second thing is ng init, as we said, that it initializes. It is designed to declare a variable and assign values to it. Now, what does ng model do? Ng model, as we know the term model, we have read the word, we have understood the term model. It refers to the data. So the model here for the input is the data for input. So when we display it, we will get the data value that was for quantity. So I'll run this once again, and here. So when we have this running, currently you see the model here. Okay, there is an issue with this code, so we will save it. Okay, for the time being, let me comment out this part and we'll continue with our example. Now, quantity is say 1, and ng model is not loading 1, it should load 1. Let me check it. I'll go to the inspect element, I go to the console, and I'll check if there is any error. Yes, I see that there's an error here. You see there's an error, and it says that injector model error at line number. I'll click on this. You may come across such errors, so this is how you go ahead and identify. This error occurs when the module fails to load due to some exception. The error message above should provide additional context. So let's read this. It fails to instantiate my app. So it's better I don't give a my app now because it is not able to instantiate it. So I'll not give it a name. I'll just save it. Okay. And once I save it, I'll go back to my loaded file and it doesn't have an error. So this line was not the cause of it. I'll comment it off. I'll uncomment it. I'll save this. Now I can see that my error is resolved. Okay, we'll talk about it, why we got this error. Currently, we are not giving it a name, right? We have an invoice. Now you see that the default value of model, what's the model? Quantity, right? In the input, we want it to have the value that is stored in quantity. So to do that, we will refer to that model that is been defined here. So quantity is a model and that is being used in input. So if I change the value of quantity to say 7, the model value of quantity becomes 7. It initialized with 1, now it becomes 7. So we have defined the term ng app. Let me open that up again. Yeah. We have defined that ng app is a directive, ng model is a directive, right? Now we know what a scope is. A scope, as we know, is the domain in which, or think of it as a box. We refer to that bank account in our example. We refer to a bank account. And now I want to think of it as a box where you keep all your monies in it, okay? So all your data is available, that's the scope. Expression. Expression, yeah. Expression is, in Angular, you will have the curly braces like this. You have the curly braces, right? Now, anything inside that is referred to as expression. So let me take you to this example where we had the expression. We will use this one. Okay, this is an expression. Okay, we have this in the two curly braces. Now, expression in a template is a JavaScript code like snippet. So inside that you can write JavaScript. However, you can write only few stuffs. Like for example, you can only use this operators. You cannot use your loops and conditions in the JavaScript. You cannot do that in your expression. We are now ready to look at an example. So we will go ahead and have a look at an example in the next video.